Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Rings and Things podcast. We are welcoming back Miss Jessie. Jessie, so you've been a designer for a while, but I want to share with our audience how you got here. What has been your journey to get to this point?
Hi, guys. I'm Jessie. I am a jewelry designer. I've been a jewelry designer for about 9 years, and right now I am very happy to say I'm a designer for Wove. I have worked in all different aspects of the industry in the past 9 years. I got started predominantly in retail stores and working on that selling side in person. I've also done a bit of marketing for different jewelry companies. I've built out different jewelry lines, done jewelry buying, jewelry designing. I see things a little bit different than most because I've seen every aspect of the industry. I haven't specialized in just designing or just buying or just doing any of those sales. I've done a lot of little different bits.
Yeah. So that means that you've probably worked with all kinds of clients, not just bridal clients, but clients buying gifts for their family members or push presents and trying to create really custom pieces when it comes to that.
Oh, yes. While I specialize in engagement rings and wedding bands, I love a love story. I'm a sucker for a love story. I have also done a little bit of everything. So think custom earrings, necklaces, bracelets, cufflinks, you name it. I've probably done something in that kind of industry before.
So Jessie, what made you choose jewelry design, jewelry world? How did you choose that for yourself?
Absolutely. I, like every little girl, loves anything shiny. So when I was little, my dad used to both collect custom watches. So I'm very well knowledgeable in the watch industry as well. But he made custom pieces of jewelry for my mom. And I grew up watching my mom wear these pieces. I also watched my dad surprise her with them and have me help him pick out those colors of the stones or just the little things. As a kid, you don't always know what's going on necessarily, but it really sparked my influence and my desire to get to know more. The older I got, the more I wanted to get into it, and it's been a passion ever since.
Kind of controversial topic, which is lab-grown diamonds versus natural diamonds versus moissanite.
Yep.
Very much a topic of social these days, building our engagement rings out. So we're going to break it down, especially around the pros and cons of them and just generally why some people feel a way about certain stones compared to others.
Yeah.
Great. So let's get into it. I mean, you have a perspective. Let's put our biases out up front. How do you feel about these 3 stone types?
It's a hot take. I mean, everybody has their own personal preference, but I want to start and say whatever you want to be your ring and your center stone is the right answer. It does not matter what I think. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. What you want and you getting what you want and being happy with it is always going to be the most important.
Yeah, totally.
No matter what.
With that said,
however,
how do you feel? How do you feel? How do you feel?
I'm a diamond girly.
Yes.
Diamond girly through and through.
Okay.
Lab grown natural. I think it's just a matter of price point for the most part.
Yep.
However, I'm a diamond gal.
Generally. Okay. I think for me, I'm definitely on the diamond tip as well, but I have like this idea in my mind that I am natural diamond for my engagement ring.
Yes.
Lab diamonds for my jewelry.
That is a common take that I find for a lot of people, especially a more traditional bride. When you think a diamond, most people think that natural earth diamond that you get. That is the hot take, I think, of the most part. However, the lab growns are beautiful. Lab grown tennis necklaces, lab grown tennis bracelets, lab grown earrings. Not everybody has $20,000 to $30,000 to throw on for a necklace. So that's where that lab comes into play.
Yeah, no, totally. I think, and here's the thing. Maybe at some point I will be convinced, like if I really want like a 4-carat radiant cut diamond ring, lab grown might be my only option, right? Depending on the budget. But overall, I think having that sort of sense of what you would want, like what us individually would want, is number one no matter what. So you'll see certain stones trending, and people are optimizing for different things. Some people are optimizing for that they can trace their diamond in a certain way. Some people are optimizing for budget. Some people are optimizing for purity, right? Like I don't want anything that's made that sounds like it's from a chemical, right? So it really depends. But I mean, like, let's get into it. I know we clearly neither one of us said moissanite. But a lot of people are choosing moissanite these days. So rather than go on our side, let's talk about sort of the pros and understandings of like why moissanite is even a thing right now and why is it so talked about right now.
Moissanite is an entirely different stone than a diamond is. Moissanite is very close to a diamond in the sense of the hardness scale. A diamond is always going to be your hardest stone. It's going to be at a 10. A moissanite is right underneath it at a 9.25 to a 9.5.
Okay.
So for durability, it's you're second in command. It's going to definitely take charge on that durability level.
Better than gemstones. Yes. Many gemstones.
Better than many gemstones. I would say the closest gemstone would be your sapphire at an 8. So it's definitely up there.
Yeah.
It's also naturally more of a white stone. So it gives a good look. It's very similar to a diamond in look. There is a difference of them, but it looks very, very, if you look down at it at a glance, you're going to think, oh, it's a beautiful white stone. It has that gorgeous reflection to it.
Okay. But you bring up reflection. The reflection in and of itself is different on moissanite versus diamond. And that's really where I started to learn that, yes, a moissanite could sort of be that diamond look, but then when you actually look at the way the light reflects, it's different, right? Talk about that.
How the light reflects is different. A diamond is going to naturally have a more of a white reflection to it. It also has a variety of shades to it. So when you think of a diamond, it's on a color scale. Almost like an alphabet. The only difference being a diamond's alphabet is a D through a Z, which we'll get into in more detail. But a moissanite, however, it's not graded like that. It doesn't have that color scale going on to it at all.
Okay.
They have more of a rainbow reflection to them. So like a rainbow sparkle, which some women love. They love that rainbow reflection, that rainbow sparkle. They have a tint to them. Typically, it's more green or more orange in tint compared to that whiter tint that a diamond typically has.
Okay.
So when you look down on your hand, it does look a little bit different.
Okay. Are you seeing people choose moissanite for any reason other than budget?
Typically, no. Some people say that they prefer it for ethical reasons. They're thinking that ethically it's a little bit better than a natural diamond when it comes to that resourcing of them, and that it's better than a lab-grown diamond. However, moissanite, everybody knows or has thought of or has researched for anybody that's dived into it, moissanite comes from a meteor. That's where it derives from. And yes, natural moissanite does come from a meteor. When you go shopping for a moissanite, less than 2% of moissanite are going to be natural. They are made in a lab under the exact same kind of composition as a diamond is when it comes to the same kind of science that goes behind it, the same kind of pressure. When it comes to the economy, it doesn't make any sort of difference because it's all being synthetically made as well for the majority.
Okay, so we're getting into the synthetics. I think some people call even lab-grown diamonds synthetic diamonds. And I think, again, personal preferences for everyone. Talk to me about what a lab-grown diamond is chemically compared to what the moissanite is chemically, right? Because now it sounds like they're both made in a lab.
They are both made in a lab, yeah.
Okay.
So they're both made in a lab. The main difference is chemically what materials they're made with. A lab-grown diamond is made with carbon. It's just under pressure in a lab as opposed to naturally in the earth.
Okay.
A moissanite, however, on the other scale, it's made of silicone. So when you actually think of it, it's made of silicone when you're making that diamond or that moissanite. I
think of a lot of different things when I think of silicone. Like, I don't want silicone in my hair products because it coats it weird. Body parts are sometimes now silicone, whatever you decide to do with yourself.
Yes.
But so to me, when you start breaking it down, just making sure someone, when they're choosing moissanite, they understand what they're getting. Exactly. And if you can get, in my perspective, if you can get a lab-grown diamond that actually is that diamond feel, but maybe is more in line with your budget, is going to have that clarity you want, is going to have, the sparkle you want, go lab. If you want moissanite because you want that rainbow effect, you should go with moissanite.
Absolutely.
But you should not choose moissanite because you're trying to find an ethical version of a diamond.
Yes.
That is not
moissanite.
What
moissanite is. If somebody, like I said, wants that moissanite and that's what makes them happy, then you get that moissanite, you rock it until the end of time and enjoy it. Enjoy that stone on your finger. never going to yuck somebody's yums.
Yeah, yeah.
However, if you are only getting it because you think ethically it's going to be better for the environment, there is no difference when it comes down to it.
You can definitely do lab. Okay. So clearly I'm a fan of lab. I think that there's obviously a lot of discourse in the jewelry world around are lab grown diamonds real diamonds, you know,
Yeah.
You know, we're jewelers. We are huge fans of lab. Talk to me about why you like both lab and natural versus choosing one or the other, because that is a choice. Lots of brands are like, I'm all lab or I'm all natural.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there should be options. I think that a lot of people, when they need to make that decision, especially with your budget and your wallet and what makes you happy, depends on what you're looking for. If you are looking for a larger carat weight, such as you talked about earlier, maybe you want to go for a lab-grown diamond because not everybody wants to spend 6 figures on a natural diamond ring in order to get 4 or 5 carats on your finger.
Yeah.
That's just... It's a lot.
That's a lot.
It's a big house.
It's a lot
on your finger.
And it's, you know, one of those things where, again, like, am I going to want to walk around with like $100,000
Yeah.
on my finger?
On your finger.
That is scary. That is scary. But do I want, you know, a beautiful, like, pear diamond that would match? Yeah, that would
and
be
you
great.
can get that with either lab or natural. They just come at different price points.
Yep,
And it's whatever you prefer.
Yep.
At the end of the day, a lab-grown diamond and a natural diamond, they're made of the same chemical composition, the same hardness. To the naked eye, they look the same because chemically they are. The only difference being, for the most part, is where they come from. A natural diamond comes from the earth. There is a rarity to them. So a lot of people prefer that rarity when they think a natural diamond. That's what you think of. That's what De Beers marketed for so many years. And that's what made diamonds so popular today. At the same token, a lab-grown diamond is made in a lab. It's made under pressure. It's made in a lot quicker of a format. That doesn't mean it's worse. It does mean that there's an infinite amount of them out there. Because there's an infinite supply of them, they're much less of a price point than a natural diamond is. They hold a different value to them.
Yep. And that's where you start to get into that investment conversation, right? Of like, resale value, what happens, you know, every time you buy an engagement ring, there's a depreciation value if you, you know, things don't work out or whatever. Obviously, you will get more back from your natural diamond ring than you would your lab diamond ring. But I'm of the cloth of, like, first of all, we should not be choosing a ring based on its resale value. We should be choosing a ring based on its current value to the person that's wearing it, right?
Absolutely.
And like, what is that impact to them? But, you know, it is a part of the fact that lab-grown diamonds, at the end of the day, are going to turn into a commodity, which means there's plenty of them. They can come from anywhere. And so, again, if you're choosing something because you want something that's super special to you and rare and like from the earth, and that's a part of your personality, or as a wearer, that's things that you deeply care about, choose the ring that matches. The flip side of that, though, of, you know, this conversation around where they're from, coming from the earth, you obviously get into these like conflict, right? Blood diamonds, all those buzzwords that are really scary and like terrible to think about. And so being really thoughtful about when you choose a natural diamond has to be conflict free, has to have transparency in terms of sourcing and making sure that you're buying it from a reputable person. When you see a diamond that's super cheap and it shouldn't be, and it's natural, like,
too good to be true.
Too good to be true.
Too good to be true. 9 times out of 10, it likely is.
And you don't want to wear something that you would want to be worried about, right? Of like, how did this impact another human's life? Yeah.
And following the Kimberly process, which is essentially a fancy way of saying they all are ethically sourced diamonds. They are not blood diamonds. The FTC, it's really strict, especially in the United States, on having everything ethically sourced and ethically brought into the U.S. A lot of things people don't think of when they're thinking of a natural diamond as well is these mines. People think of pollution and it ruining the environment, but actually around all of these big mines, it helps the economy. In these places, you have huge schools that are being formed because these are families. These are people that dedicate their entire lives to these mines. So you have schools and hospitals and it's an entire city. They're forming cities around these mines. So it's not as bad for the environment always as you think it is. And when it starts implementing and factoring into the earth and making it a poor decision, they close the mind.
So there are sort of regulators. And
There are
there's
regulators.
governance around making sure that these mines aren't being, overly pollution
Anything
focused.
that follows the Kimberley process, which comes into the United States legally, is.
Right. Well, and that's why you have to work with a jeweler.
That's why you have to work with a jeweler. And that's why when you work with a jeweler, you ask them, are my diamonds certified? Where is my diamond coming from? How do I know that this is a quality diamond?
And that also connects to the GIA process, right? Like that whole, let's break that down too. What does GIA mean? Like, why does it matter? Why does it matter to work with a certified designer who understands that? Is it connected to the Kimberley process at all? Is it just about that stone? Yeah. Talk more about that.
So the GIA is the most well-known institute in America for anything to do with diamonds, stones, jewelry, etc. It's the Gemological Institute of America. So there we go. I went to the GIA. I got my AJP. That's a lot of letters just to say that I am certified in talking about things, diamonds, gemstones, and etc.
Great.
Not everybody who works in the jewelry industry does have that certification. Everybody that works for Wove on the sales team and all of our designers do have that certification.
Yeah.
It's just a nicer way to say we know what we're talking about. We know the measurements of a diamond. We know the measurements of a gemstone. We know if something is quality or not. You want, again, to work with somebody that you trust.
Yep.
Any stone that you work with, especially diamond, if it is natural, it needs to have a certification because that's essentially a blueprint of your stone showing a map of what is in your stone, what's going on in there. Are there any marks in there? Are there any impurities going on in there? And also just a little bit of clarification to know this person isn't lying to me. Like, I am getting what they're saying I'm getting.
Right. And so much of that is connected to sourcing.
Yeah.
So not only are you able to understand every element of that stone, ensure that it's not too good to be true, you understand sort of the landscape of price that relates to quality and all of those interactions, but then you can also be better suited to deduce whether this is coming from the right place.
Yes.
You're looking at the locations of mines. Certain stones from certain places in the world are not acceptable, right? Should not be used. And you know about all those things versus, a proposer or a wearer trying to literally understand an industry from scratch to buy one ring for themselves.
And jewelers' language can be chaotic and overwhelming. And looking at something, like, I'll be honest, when I started working in the jewelry industry 9 years ago, I had no idea what any of that meant. I wouldn't expect anybody to know what that means. It's a foreign language through and through. It takes time and training and talent in order to know what you're talking about. And you're buying something important. You're buying something that's going to be on somebody's finger forever. Don't you want to know that what you're buying is quality and that it follows what you're looking for? Regardless of if a stone is lab grown or natural, your diamond comes with a certificate. It should come with a certificate so that you know what you're doing. When I source a stone for somebody, I'm looking through thousands of certificates and thousands of diamonds to make sure I'm finding the best at the price point you want. Just making it easy so you're not just scrolling on like a website going, I don't know, the photo looks good. I'm sure, let's go for it. Because how do you know? Like,
and
how
there's
do you know?
many combinations of quality standards, right? Like literally we talk about the 4 C's and specifically on this podcast, we are not going to just be like, here are the 4 C's. Like we're really going to talk about why they matter. So the 4 C's, the carats, all of that, we're talking about it, how it impacts you, how it impacts your life, your ring. But if you're just doing this by yourself and you're scrolling, there are so many combinations of high carat, low clarity, like all these things.
And you need to know how they're all sliding scales. So and I know we're going to talk about this on a deeper dive down the road, but those 4 C's, your cut, your clarity, your color, those are all super important to be able to slide them up and down and know where you can have the wiggle room and on what carats and what. Every stone shape is different. So, for example, a stone that has those sharp points to it, like a marquise or a pear, any color in a stone, it's going to show more prominently in the points of a diamond. So I know if I have something of that nature, I want to have a really high color. An emerald cut diamond, you're going to want to have like a higher clarity because I can see what's going on. Those are all things that you want to make sure. And you can't always know that just scrolling on a website and going, well, the photo looks pretty. Like, you need to have somebody to be able to tell you that you can, again, trust to be able to say, this is what you can get. This is the best bang for your buck. This is going to look beautiful in your ring. And I guarantee that it's going to look beautiful. If it doesn't look beautiful, then we'll find you a different stone. We check all of the stones.
I love that. And I think it's also, again, in our situation where we're building everything custom, we're choosing every element of a ring.
Yeah.
We're not trying to sell the diamond that we have in the case at our store, right? Like we are going out into the world and looking for the best stone possible, whether it's lab, whether it's natural, whether it's moissanite or a gemstone.
Yeah.
And that completely changes sort of the customer's experience because it's not about what can I get right now, ready to ship. I think that's a whole other like impulse buy scenario that we kind of get stuck in if you're not working with a designer who can help you with these things. Like going to a store and just getting what's in the case limits all of those sliding scales because you just have to kind of go with what's
and you have to hope that the person that came into the store 10 minutes prior didn't buy the stone that should have been your dream stone, because you're at the mercy of what people carry. We don't carry an inventory because I want to pick the perfect piece for you. Whether that's lab, whether that's natural, whether it's a gemstone, something entirely different. I want you to have what's perfect for your ring to look great on your finger.
Yep, totally. So, okay, so we get certifications for lab-grown diamonds and natural diamonds. Do we get certifications for moissanite?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Some stones come with a certification. Some stones don't come with a certification. So it depends on the stone that you pick.
Okay. And price range. So when we think about natural, lab, moissanite, what are sort of the general engagement ring price points that you would think about for each of those?
Depending on the sliding scale, because like I said, sometimes you slide up with the color and you slide down the clarity, or vice versa. With that blanket statement, I'm only going to show diamonds or gemstones or what have you, because I don't consider a moissanite a diamond. It's a gemstone. I'm only going to show things that are bright and white to the naked eye, and I'm only going to show things that are eye clean, meaning you're not going to see anything funky going on in there. Generally speaking, a 1 carat stone, which is usually your starting benchmark size for a moissanite, is going to be around $200 to $600.
Okay.
A 1 carat lab grown diamond is going to be around $1,500, give or take a little bit.
Okay.
And then your natural 1 carat diamond is going to be anywhere from like $4,500 to $6,000, depending.
Okay. And that's helpful, right? Because if we think about, 1 carat, 2 carat, I think 2 carat diamonds, diamond rings are pretty popular these days, or kind of getting like, I've seen a lot of videos on social where it's like, oh, don't get a 1 carat diamond, get a 0.98 carat diamond, those types of things. But just understanding that carat weight price is really helpful if you're starting to think about what your budget you'd want to have. Because settings are really not the biggest, bulk of your budget. It really is
that center stone 9 times out of 10. With that, working with a designer, I know for me, I am always keeping that in mind. When I go looking at a stone, it's not just carat weight. I try to break it down as simply as possible. Carat weight on a stone is simply the weight of that stone. So think about a person. If a person is 4'8", and they are 110 pounds, that 110 pounds is going to carry very differently on them than if a 5'5" person is 110 pounds. Same weights. For a diamond, you could have a diamond that is 1 carat, 2 carats. That 2 carat stone, if it is a deeper stone, then it is not going to look like it is 2 carats in size. I could pull two 2 carat stones, and one could look much larger than the other. I pay attention to measurements and exactly that. I could find a diamond that's probably 1.9 carats, and I could find one that looks like it's going to be 2.3 carats in comparison. But you're paying that 1.9 price tag.
Yeah, and that's so good because as a regular consumer, I'm not going to think about that depth being a way that if I want something that looks larger, getting a flatter stone to help make that happen. And that also kind of brings us to sort of like how close it sits to your skin, like those sort of like lifestyle changes you want to have. And those things are things you can think about whether you choose lab, natural, anything, just like the depth of the stone.
And you don't want it to be too shallow because then the light in a perfect cut stone, you want the light to come through the top, bounce around in that stone, and pop right back out. You don't want it too shallow because then it has nothing to bounce around in, nothing for that light to reflect out of. So you want to have this beautiful like game, that beautiful marriage, if you will, on that stone so that it still is deep enough that the light shines through it and goes around and bounces before coming out. But not too deep to where it's unnecessary and you're just losing carat weight. It's just a waste.
And it makes me think too when you talk about this like game sort of happening and the reflection in the diamond or the stone. So one of our designers, Kendle, was talking about having a laser show with her diamond.
She
what?
would.
What does that even?
Oh, she
where is that
would.
even coming from?
Yeah, no, it's because you want to have that perfect sparkle. At the end of the day, like if somebody thinks of a ring and they're going like this on their ring, it's like that beautiful airplane moment where you're like, that light is shining in this window so good. And you like see all of those reflections coming onto the wall. You want to have that light show. You want to have that moment, that sparkle. Every person takes that video going, do you see this going on in my ring?
Yes. Okay.
And diamonds still have it. They still have the light show.
Yeah.
Yes, Moissanite has like that rainbow fire, but diamonds also have their own beautiful sparkle. It's just a matter of what's more important to you.
Nice. I know we're supposed to be talking about lab diamonds, natural diamonds, and moissanite.
Yeah.
But, in our other conversation about gemstones, we did talk about like colored diamonds, right? So in the colored diamond realm, I hear you can also get lab-grown colored diamonds, which have now created this whole new way for us to be able to choose pink diamonds in a way that we couldn't get before in terms of price point, but also just being able to really create something unique for you without necessarily having to give up, durability or having to spend, half a house on it.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. And honestly, when it comes to colored gemstones, when it comes to those colored diamonds, that's where a lab grown actually comes to be your best friend sometimes.
Yep.
When people think diamond, they traditionally think a white stone. And that is partially because your other colored diamonds, blue diamonds, pink diamonds, red diamonds, yellow diamonds, purple diamonds, those are all things. They get rarer and rarer and rarer to find because in nature, it's hard enough finding a perfect diamond.
Right. Let alone
let's add some color to it.
Right.
The most popular colored diamond would be a yellow diamond, also known as a canary diamond, then followed by your pink diamond. Those diamonds naturally are wildly expensive.
I hear.
Wildly expensive.
And they a lot of times live in a museum and not our hands.
Yes.
Yeah.
So to be able to get that kind of look on your finger, you have to usually go lab. And even then, they get more and more expensive in lab world.
Yeah, I was going to say.
They're still harder to find.
Yeah. So even in the lab game, what are some of those elements like color that start to even have a lab grown diamond sort of peak up? And this is for the folks who may be thinking about resale value, the value of the ring. How can we get something that is lab but still a little bit more rare in the lab sense?
The colored stones are a little more rare, so they're a little bit harder to find, so you'll have a little bit more of a trade-in value. Again, I don't believe in purchasing a ring for the trade-in value per se. You're supposed to purchase a ring because you love the ring and it's the next chapter of your love story together. Upgrades down the road are absolutely a thing. I tell every single person that I talk to that we can always change this, alter it, and edit it when you're together for 20 to 30 years and we're going and getting more. But I think that depending on the rarity, depending on the cut, sometimes you can get a little more bang for your buck in the lab-grown world, too.
Okay. So another big trend right now, multi-stone rings, the trois-mois, the three-stone. We have a few of those styles at Wove.
Yeah.
How do you think about mixing lab-grown diamond and natural diamond on one ring?
So popular. More popular than people think. I know I just recently worked with a client who wanted a trois-mois, and part of the reason they wanted it was because it was their grandmother's diamond. So they wanted to use their grandmother's diamond as one of the diamonds in the ring, but they also wanted to get that trois-mois, which simply means me and you in French. So it's two coming to one. Which I think is beautiful. I'm a sap when it comes to anything like that. That's why I work in jewelry and that's why I work in engagement rings because I love a good love story. But it's a really easier way to be able to get it because I mean, if you're buying a ring, buying one diamond is hard enough on a wallet. Do you want to buy two diamonds?
At the same time,
Yeah, but it's a beautiful way to be able to do it. You never know the difference. When it comes down to it, they're the same chemical composition. So to the naked eye, you would not know. Yes, a lab-grown diamond is by definition a synthetic diamond, but it's a diamond. You wouldn't know the difference. It has no different sparkle to it. If you put a moissanite next to a diamond, you would notice the difference. I would not recommend mixing and matching in that nature for a trois-mois.
Yeah, and I love the trois-mois because you can really choose two different moments to come together. So whether it's like you mentioned, your grandmother's ring and then a new stone that you and your partner choose together, you could have, something that is more gemstone, right? And a natural diamond. You could do a lab grown gemstone. You could do whatever, but really being able to kind of balance your wallet with two stones at once, but one of them being natural, one of them being lab, is just a great way to incorporate two elements.
Yeah.
Would you do, which I've seen a couple of people do, would you do a pearl and diamond twine?
Oh, Ariana Grande. Ariana Grande. I just had a client who actually did ask me about this.
Okay.
She had a pearl for one of her stones, and then she had a very long oval diamond as the other one. Absolutely beautiful. I would not recommend a pearl for an engagement ring. And I hate to play devil's advocate and the bearer of bad news. I know this is wildly off topic, but I would not recommend it simply because pearls are on the hardness scale a 2. With one
2.
being the absolute lowest. A diamond, on the other hand, is a 10. It is the hardest thing on earth. Pearls are very high maintenance. You cannot, funny enough, you do not want to get them wet with soap and water.
Yeah.
You will lose the luster of the stone over time. They're super soft, so they can scratch very easily. It's not recommended. However, I can work with it. I can work with any gemstone. If somebody comes to me and they say, I want a moissanite diamond or a moissanite stone, heck yes, let's do it.
Yep.
Let's do it. Okay, sounds great. If you want to work with a pearl, I tell every single person we can work with a pearl. However, you're going to have to send your ring back into us. We are going to have to replace this pearl, and you cannot get too attached to this one pearl. Pearls are great for earrings. They're great for necklaces because you're not constantly touching it throughout the day. The oils on your hands are not getting on the pearl. It is when it's on your hand and on your finger. There are just certain stones, and I'm sure Kendle talks about it a little bit, or we'll get into it. There's just certain stones you want to avoid.
Yep. And it's sad, right? Because, obviously when something comes in trend, when you see it, it's beautiful, you want to make it work. So it sounds like, essentially, if you want to be the pearl girl, be prepared to purchase multiple.
Be the pearl girl. Pearl girls are gorgeous.
Great.
Beautiful. They're the only stone you can possibly get that are made naturally from another living organism.
Oh, wow. I didn't even think about that.
It's the only gemstone you can get that's made from another organism. It's living.
Yeah, that does make sense. So, just plan to buy multiple. And honestly, like, if somebody's willing to do that to get the look that they want, by all means, go for it. Yeah. It's just a very high maintenance stone.
It is.
Okay, fair enough. So, Jesse, we've talked all about natural diamonds, lab-grown diamonds, moissanite. Is there one last bit of feedback you would give someone who's trying to figure out, of the 3, where they should go next?
Yeah. I would say go with what you want. Go with what makes you happy. For me, I would pick a diamond, whether that is lab-grown diamond or natural diamond. Okay. They are going to last the test of time. They are going to be your heirloom piece that your child can wear, that they can put in their ring one day when you do that beautiful upgrade, and you can keep it. You can transition it to another piece of jewelry. They have the clarity, the color, the carat. They are highly graded. They are held to a high standard when they are cut. They're my personal choice, and what I would pick. I think that they're beautiful, timeless, and elegant for a reason. That's why they've lasted the test of time.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Jesse. This has been great. Loved hearing about your perspectives. It's okay to be anti-moissanite. It's okay. Right. It's not for everyone.
It's not for everybody. But again, if that's what they want.
Yeah. We'll work with them.
Not going to yuck your yums. Okay. I've worked with moissanite before.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And
Absolutely.
until the next time.
Until the next time.
Great.